How was it this morning?
Good.
It's a minute.
Oh, all of us? You?
Yeah.
Me too?
Okay, well, let's start a discussion.
Or you could just go over what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, I just have some notes here. I mean, you said you've been to Europe, and my travels in Europe have taught me one thing about religion. Atheism is
Okay. All right, we're done.
All right.
So now, don't talk.
Yeah. I don't want to give away what I'm going to talk about.
I need to take a 5-minute power nap is what I need to do.
Yeah.
I think we're live. 11. Guys, we're on the air.
Are we on the air? That's excellent. All right. Hi, welcome to the Atheist
Get a
Community of
nice
Austin.
early start.
We're getting an early start here.
I really don't know what this is.
Does this mean we get an extra 4 minutes?
Apparently it's switched over a little early, so we're getting some extra time today. If they don't
This
cut
is
us
really
off
strange.
They'll cut us off.
If they don't cut us off early, then you're getting an extra show today. A little extra special. Just for you. We planned it.
You guys are on the air. I don't know why.
Yeah, we just found that out. Folks, we're on the air, and we don't know why we're on the air. So let's just pretend that we're going on the air. And
You want me to do the music?
yeah, do the music. Let's start properly. All right, everyone, we're going to start over, right? Atheist Community of Austin, take 2, clack. We're so professional here.
What's that, Wayne World?
Hello, everyone. And we apologize for that strange and surreal beginning to today's broadcast. In fact, for all we know, most of our viewers aren't even tuned in yet because there's still about 3.5 minutes to go. But we'll pretend that you are. And welcome to another very strange episode of the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Martin Wagner. My co-host is Mr. David Clark. And our guest today is Arlo Pignotti. This show is sponsored by Atheist Community of Austin. We are a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. The ACA holds weekly meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop.
The clock in here is like 7 minutes slow.
Oh, that's what's going on. Okay.
No.
All right. Hang on. Here's the thing.
We've been running around.
We've just been told by our producer that the clock that we rely on to look at right in front of us is something like 7 minutes slow. So for all we, it's like 4:35 now. For all we know.
Real atheist experience.
So we hope that you enjoyed whatever you heard, and
apparently the show just came on. You guys were talking. I wasn't even here because I was.
I was right. I said we're on.
Yeah. And whatever. Okay. Anyway, well, we hope you enjoyed the unintentional comedy, and we hope to provide you with much more of it. Anyway, it's okay. So weekly meetings, right? Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop. 307 West 5th Street, that's downtown on 5th Street between Guadalupe and Lavaca. And what else? My equilibrium is so thrown off by that weirdness. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we have those meetings every Sunday morning, except for the first Sunday of the month when we have our first cafeteria brunch. It's our lecture series. Happens, as I said, the first Sunday. Today, we did not have our lecture, however. We just all had, as a group, spoke about an upcoming rally that is going to be taking place on the Capitol steps, the south steps of the Capitol building on next Saturday, which I will talk about here in just a second. But on our next lecture series, which will be on February the 3rd, will be a talk given by John Rumrich, who will speak on Milton's epic poem Samson Agonistes. And so that'll be February the 1st. Tentative. That's, yes. Now, these things are always subject to, a frightening change at the last minute without notice. But hopefully that won't take place. All right. We have several other social activities, just to prove that we're not always this disorganized. We have Godless Gamers on Monday nights at the home of Jeff D. and Manda. And if you'd like information on how to attend that, talk to Jeff or Manda. That's very popular little social get-together. We play games, card games, board games, etc. And also on Wednesday evenings at about 7:30, we have the ACA Happy Hour, which is at Antonio's Tex-Mex at 183 and 35. And that's a really cool little evening meeting for people who find it difficult to make the Sunday morning things, which some people do. Okay, so let's see. What else have we talked about? Okay. I will talk about the rally after I introduce our co-host, whom many of you have already met if you've been watching the show for the last 6 weeks. When Jeff D left the program, we had 3 members of our group who were campaigning, as it were, for the co-host position of the show, and they all went through their go-rounds twice, and at the end we put it up to a viewer vote on the ACA website, and David was the winner of the votes. So we're very, very happy to have you on the show. Congratulations.
Glad to be the co-host.
And looking forward to working with you for quite a while. Let's see. So it was amazingly tight. We were astonished at just how Russell and I could not have even remotely predicted how suspenseful it would have been, but that's just a reflection, I think, of the fact that everybody was really good at what they did, and it was hard for people to choose.
I'm lucky that I have a large family.
Well, that and all that money, too.
Yeah, well, that helped.
Yeah, so anyway, I did not participate, so my conscience is clear. I decided that, staff of the Atheist Experience probably shouldn't. Although, I mean, everybody else I'm sure did, but
I didn't either, but I've been out of touch with the show because I haven't been here for a long time.
Well, you could still just voted and pretended you know what you...
Yeah.
I mean, as you can tell from today's show, we're all just pretending we know what we're doing. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Now, next Saturday, we have an announcement of a rally that is going to be taking place on the south steps of the state capitol. This will be a celebration. It's a church-state separation rally to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists. This was, Jefferson's letter written in January of 1802 to Messrs. Nehemiah Dodge, Ephraim Robbins, and Stephen S. Nelson, a committee of the Danbury Baptist Association in the state of Connecticut, and they wrote Jefferson asking for governmental recognition of their religious activities, and Jefferson said, well, no, we can't do that because that's not fair. And, these days there are a lot of people, including our fine governor of this state, who want to just sort of tear that asunder and have all sorts of governmentally endorsed, mandatory religious indoctrination, although they don't see it that way, but that's more or less what it amounts to. And so this is just a little reminder that that's not the way we do business around here. There'll be several speakers at this thing. Jeff D., the former TV show host, will be speaking at this. David's going to speak. I'm going to speak. And we also have some people from, we have one representative from the Houston chapter, I believe it is, of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, which is the Reverend Barry Lynn's group. And this guy is a Baptist minister. And I think we also have a rabbi, although I'm not sure, exactly where he's from, what part of the state he's from, but we have an alternating mix of theistic and atheist speakers at this thing. So that will be next Saturday, and it'll be 11 a.m. on the Capitol steps, and we had a lot of fun making signs like, WWJD, what would Jefferson do, and stuff like that. So anyway, so that is what is going on. Now, before we get to the news, I want to introduce our guest, reintroduce our guest to many of our longtime older viewers, and introduce him to many of our new viewers, folks who've just joined the show recently in the last few weeks. This is Arlo Pignotti. Arlo is one of our longtime members. He's been involved with the group and the show, before I became a member, and probably before most of us in this room were involved with the group.
I think it was about 98.
Yeah, so when the show first started out, and it was Ray Blevins and Joe Zemecki. Mm-hmm. And there's a picture of you on the website as part of that original crew with Mary Sue and a lot of folks. And Arlo's a guy, if you remember our show from last couple years, when we were in the, okay, I just interject. The clock is now zooming ahead of time, like we've entered some sort of time warp. It's literally
the show's been on for 20 hours.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Now it's saying 4:20.
They're trying to set it.
You have
someone cover up the clock?
What time do you have?
I have 4:40.
4:40. Okay. It's okay. They're resetting the clock for us. So that doesn't happen to us again. All right. We would love for someone to call and just describe what it was like to just come on the air where's Martin? That's going to be a classic moment. So anyway, but back to business at hand. Arlo has always provided all the fun sound effects that used to interject when we were in the big studio next door. Mm-hmm. And so they have their whole room over there devoted just to sound, and so Arlo would just take that over and toss in great little Homer Simpson quips and things when we.
I'll try to do that with the smaller studios.
Yeah, and we miss that. But now you are, Arlo is our world traveler. He does this kind of thing where he'll disappear for 8 months and end up in some obscure part of the world, and then he'll come back and tell us all of his exciting stories about foreign lands. And on one of your most recent trips, you got married, didn't you?
Yes.
You little Dickens. Tell us about that.
I've had a pen pal for over a year who lives in Latvia, and I met her in June, and I had no idea how long I was going to stay there, but it ended up being all the way up until a week ago. I just got back a week ago, so we spent over 7 months together.
Wow.
And every day we spent together has just been getting better and better, still is. And we married a couple of months ago.
Sounds like the real
Everything's
deal.
fantastic.
Well, that does. Well, we're all thrilled to death for you, and we can't wait to meet her. And I understand you guys, you're having some paperwork problems with.
Right. Yeah, it may be at least 6 more months before she can come, but
that's a drag.
She'll be happy to be involved with the Atheist community of Austin too.
Good. Well, we're happy about that. Now, you're going to tell us a little bit about some of your experiences over there, and what the attitude towards religion is like, I guess, over there in Eastern Europe or Western Russia or whatever it is, whatever they call it.
Right. Latvia, and I think it's similar to many countries in Europe. There's just not an issue for separation of church and state. Many governments are completely secular, and you don't have these religious groups. You don't have the Jerry Falwells and the Pat Robertsons out there trying to break down their own wall of church and state, or whatever they may call it. And it's often brought up with people that I'm an atheist. I'm involved with an American atheist organizations and Austin Atheists, and people are like, why would atheists need to organize?
Yes.
I mean, aren't most people agnostics and atheists? It's like, oh no. No. So it's kind of a good sign that there's no need for an atheist group in, say, Latvia, because it's just not really necessary. There's not, religion isn't so pushy socially or politically there.
Okay.
And it's really cool to see that. And
cool. All right. Well, give us a sec. We're going to go over to David for the news today, and then we'll get back and you can tell us the details about things you found over there. What is okay?
Number one on the news is that we have been informed the clock
is okay now.
It is working properly.
So I've been speaking for about we started about 5 minutes ago. So there was this 5-minute period where just like nothing.
Mic check.
All right. Well, that's fun.
Freewheeling. That's what we are.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Just, keep it laid back. Yeah. What's going on in the world?
Well, let's start with what I did this morning.
Yes.
This morning I spoke at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Austin, and I just I spoke at their service, gave a little talk on the atheist community of Austin, what it's about, what kind of things that we do, what kind of things we're involved in. I talked about the rally that we're having on the 12th, and then I also spoke about my particular project, which is the Remove the 10 project, and my website, removethe10.com. And I spent pretty much a good portion of the morning and then went and ate lunch with the group, and they're a really nice group with a lot of good discussion, and we had a really good time. My wife went, and we just had an excellent time. After the talk was over, we had a little question and answer session, and it was just a really good time, and they're a really nice group.
Now, what is Unitarian Universalism for our viewers who might be scratching their heads over that? Is that any kind of a religion, or is it just?
Well, I can tell you exactly from their particular handout that they give to visitors. They say, "Welcomed here as individual people are the young and old, rich and poor, male and female, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, straight people, all the colors of the human race, theist, atheist, agnostic, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, pagan, humanist, and other religious beliefs. We give thanks for this blessing, the gathering together of separate, unique individuals as our Unitarian Universalist congregation." Then on the back it says, "Unitarian Universalism is a religious movement that encourages people to think for themselves and live by the highest ethical values."
Okay, well, that's interesting.
I think pretty much it's about getting together, I believe, from the group that I met today, getting together and discussing issues. I don't think there's any sacred cow from what I got that you can't discuss, and that everybody is, their main tenet is, I believe, just to try to make the world a better place and
get along,
be good.
I wish that's what most churches could be about.
So do I.
That's pretty cool.
So I had a really good time, and they're a really good group, really nice group.
Terrific. Wow. What else have we?
Well, we have an interesting little thing on the Christian Coalition.
Those folks.
There was a lawsuit against the Christian Coalition put in, I believe it was last year,
I think so.
by some employees. I believe it was 10 African-American women that said that they were victims of racial discrimination. They said that they had to enter the offices by the back door. They had to eat their lunches in like a broom closet. They were kept whenever anybody important came. They were kept in a back room and not allowed to come out. And then later on, a white male that worked for the Christian Coalition joined the lawsuit with them, claiming that he was fired because he refused to spy on these women. So this
is all very strange.
It's strange. Now, the Christian Coalition denied all of it. Of course, they denied it and said these people are trying to embarrass us and extort money from us. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was this went before a judge.
Right.
And not to actually settle the lawsuit. The judge looked at the lawsuit and then said his actual ruling, he gave an injunction against the Christian Coalition to keep them from retaliating against these workers. And he actually said, looking at the evidence, it appears quite likely that if this goes to court, these people will win. So the Christian Coalition settled. Okay. It does not say how much they settled for.
Isn't that it right there? I guess that might be it.
Okay, this is a new one then that I haven't seen. It says they will be paying about $325,000 in return for the workers' promise of permanent silence on the case.
So they bought them off.
So they bought them off.
Well, they can't silence us, dang it. We'll babble on about this.
Lump sum payments to be distributed by the plaintiff's attorney. Quite interesting that if I had not if I was the Christian Coalition and I had not done this, I would want a chance to go to court and prove that I had not done it.
Yeah, if you're being accused, if you're innocent of what you're being accused of, then you do want to have your day.
I would think so.
And have your name cleared completely. And so it's a very strange situation overall. Like, on the one hand, you want to ask, why on earth if the Christian Coalition, or if this particular branch or office or what have you, were embarrassed by having African-American employees, why would they have hired them in the first place? Unless they thought they could pay them less or something. But I don't know if that was one of the complaints. And then if it seems to me like if my employer told me to go eat my lunch in the broom closet, I'm like, see ya, take this job and, insert. So, that's not gonna, so it's, they may have been intimidated but the fact is they were 10. And so this was a class action, racial, or just a racial?
It was just I don't know if it was group. It was class action, but it was one group of employees. They were also apparently barred from weekly prayer meetings and periodic social events that were attended by white employees.
It's odd.
So this is very. Yeah. You just don't know what to say about this. It's very strange.
Yeah.
In any event, it's just a little weird. Yeah. But apparently they have settled. As long as the workers promise that they will not give any details out about the case.
Yeah. Now, if the Christian Coalition did nothing, if they really did nothing, because I guess it hasn't been proved one way or another, it still, though, seems strange that they would settle this in a manner that left a cloud of doubt and, mystery over whether or not it really happened. Because they certainly have the resources to smack down these 10 ladies. This is a big
they have plenty of money. I'm trying to see.
Yeah. Now, is this like the main Washington, D.C. office, or where was this taking place? Do we know?
They keep mentioning Washington in here.
Okay, so it may have been like one of their main
organization's Capitol Hill headquarters.
Yeah, Capitol Hill. Okay, so the one right down the block from the corridors of power.
Yes, they were had to use the back door while whites were permitted to use the front door. This is
okay.
So, but like you said, it hasn't been proven either way. However, a judge did look at the case and actually tell the Christian Coalition if this actually goes to court.
Looks good for the ladies.
It looks like they're going to win.
Wow.
So that probably says something right there.
Bad Christian Coalition. Bad people. Naughty. All right, what's happening here?
In India.
Whoa, this one's awful.
An 8-year-old boy was sacrificed by a temple priest.
Wait, no, this actually happened in 2002, right?
Yes.
This is going on this planet right now.
In Bijnor, India, a temple priest chopped the head of an 8-year-old boy with a dagger in a sacrifice to a deity. It doesn't say which particular deity, if any, doesn't specify. The incident came to light when the boy hailing from Caligar was reported missing after he had gone to the temple. His body was later recovered from nearby bushes. On interrogation, the priest confessed to the crime, and he has been arrested.
All right. Okay.
This is...
now, he had gone to what, the Shiva? Okay.
Shiva temple.
But I don't know that the only... Now, I could be wrong here, so... The only Hindu god that I know of that is like all involved with death and blood and that sort of thing, and there could be more, but it would be Kali. But didn't they like strangle?
I'm not sure about that.
And they used to like waylay people. The thugs were Kali's followers, and they would hide behind bushes and jump out unwary travelers. And
that was worship?
Yeah, that was their sacrifice. That's how they would appease Kali. But this is absolutely horrible.
Many believers like to say, "Oh, well, we are all really worshiping the same God." But then, of course, if something like this happens, say, "Oh no, that's not our God. That's Satan pretending to be a god or something."
Right. Yeah. So anyway.
But I just thought that was interesting and disturbing all at the same time.
It's terrifying, and I hope that guy just gets the full brunt.
I'm glad that he confessed and has been arrested, so that's good.
Child sacrifice still going on, and sometimes we hear about witch burnings, too. And
like in Africa.
In Africa, recently on the BBC.
I know that there's the woman who is due to be stoned to death for violating the Sharia law, the Muslim Sharia law, because for being supposedly adulterous. And that whole surreal situation is like she's nursing a baby right now. So they're like giving her time to nurse the baby, right, and wean the baby, and then they're expecting her to like turn up for her execution when the baby's okay. That's like beyond stupid. It's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem, I'll do that.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot about this on the BBC, lots of debating between British journalists and the people who support the stonings, and it's clearly a religious thing. They always say, there's no rationalizing with them because, hey, this is what Allah told us to do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of witch burning, in Alamogordo, New Mexico, as hundreds protested nearby, a church group burned Harry Potter and other books.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Brock, the Christ Community Church founder and pastor, said the books burned Sunday were a masterpiece of satanic deception. These books teach children how they can get into witchcraft and become a witch, wizard, or warlock.
They really... Okay, so what he's saying is that there's this real place called Hogwarts School that you can really go to, and you can really learn how to fly around on a broom, and really learn how to play Quidditch, and you can have your own pet owl, and it's all real.
Apparently there's enough there that it leads...
Got some good peyote in Alamogordo, I tell you.
It's a slippery slope. They did not stop with the Harry Potter books, though. They also burned works by Shakespeare, as well as AC/DC records, and I even read one... paper, this is not on this one, but I read one that said there was like a video of like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was thrown into the fire too. I've
seen a book written, it's an old book, it's like written in the 50s, where it's a Baptist bashing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They called the dwarves like some kind of, they described them as omnipotent lords of the mine or something, and it's this kooky satanic thing. Baptists have always been against Disney, even back in the days of Snow White. It's crazy.
However, the good part about this was that while this was happening, a quarter-mile-long line of protesters were there chanting, "Stop burning books."
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder how much of this was just a publicity stunt to get press and media.
Well, I think it is because the pastor says right here that there are those that are doing their best to make us look bad, said the pastor, but because of this, I've been able to preach the gospel around the world.
If it weren't for all those protesters, burning books would look good.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that maybe he wanted to do this as part of his church to show that they are getting rid of things that they feel hinder their relationship with Christ. But when you do things like this, people immediately think back to Hitler and all the dictators and zealots that have burned books and killed people in the past, and it's just tasteless.
Yeah, and there's also the argument to be made that if your religious beliefs really are threatened by a children's novel, then they really aren't. I mean, you haven't really got.
And your
any
God should probably write a better book because J.K. Rowling is writing one that's.
You just haven't got any faith to speak of, really. So it's all about it now.
It's amazing. I would never burn Christian stuff because I actually collect it. It's just
you would
funny.
Add it to
it's
your,
entertaining. And I have a video called Harry Potter Witchcraft Repackaged.
Okay.
And it's a funny video.
Has that been on some of the Christian channels? Because I'm not.
I don't know. I haven't.
I've seen one thing. I've seen a thing on one of the Christian channels. See here, all of you out there watching who are just watching like standard Time Warner cable, you're lucky. You don't have to deal with 24-hour-a-day religious program because they've moved it all to digital cable so that guys like me have to deal with it. So on digital cable, there's like 5 religious channels now, and I'm one of them. Yeah, including one that's like all Catholic, which is amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's I saw one show where it was John Hagee, who's the guy from San Antonio.
Yep.
Who is this real frightening-looking, scowling guy. And he was interviewing this woman who may have been the author. Is the author of the book a woman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, because he's interviewing this woman, and she had all this elaborate theory as to how, Harry Potter was this nefarious plot to, infect the minds of little boys and little girls and stuff like that. So, this ought to be fun, but we'll get to him in a second. Yeah.
I just want to mention the same places, catalogs and websites that I saw that were selling literature against Harry Potter were also selling literature praising Tolkien's Lord of the Rings simply because he was a Christian, the author. They say he's a Christian, and he's teaching good and evil. But yet Harry Potter is the same thing.
Well,
they say, yes, Harry Potter, it's good against evil, but it's using magical spells and things. And, Lord of the Rings has a bit of that, too.
There's that, and it's also teaching, I think, self-reliance and stuff like that. Well, all of these nice secular, sort of very tolerant, sentiments that some people on the far right wing of Christianity are uncomfortable with. But anyway, that's pretty hilarious. Okay, do you have anything more for us?
About it.
Think about that? Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we can talk about that other thing later on. I just have one more announcement to make really quickly. It was up on the website, the screen a few seconds ago, but our website is www.atheist-community.org. And you can go there and find out all sorts of swell information about us. There it is. Thank you, Russell. And the voicemail is 371-2911 if you're curious to know more about the group, want to get more information, and what have you. Now, I already mentioned the Capital Steps rally that is on the 12th?
12th at 11 a.m.
Yes, 12th at 11 a.m., which is this coming Saturday. So this will be our last ability to remind you on this show that it will be happening. But I'm sure Russell will add it if he's not already done to the calendar page on the website. But here's another thing coming up, and this is coming up in February, which is this ought to be amusing. Apparently there's a creation evolution debate going to take place at the UT campus. Apparently sponsored by someone in the philosophy department, and that's going to be February 15th at 6:30 p.m. In the UTC building, room 2.112A, which I think I had classes in there. And there is an admission, but as we know more information about it, we'll try to provide you some information as we get it. If nothing else, could be a fun way to spend that night if there's nothing else to do. All right. I want to get to Arlo, but let's take this call first and see what he has to say, and then we'll get on to some of your European and Russian experiences and find out some info about that way of life, shall we? Okay. Hello, Tim. Hey, you're on the air. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. Love your show.
Thank you.
You guys make a lot of great points, get out a lot of good information.
Well, thanks very much. What can we do for you today?
On the other side,
Okay.
One thing that, I've followed your show a lot, and I'm skeptical about a lot of things, and organized religion is definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I have come across after many years of research is something that is incontrovertible proof of supernatural.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. Well, what would that be?
And that is biblical prophecy.
Okay. All right.
There's no way getting around the fact that well over 4,000-year-old prophecies predict exactly what's happening right now. For instance, that the nation of Israel would be disbanded was predicted before it was disbanded 2,000 years ago, and at the end times would be reorganized at the end, and this would signify the end of times. And that happened on May the 10th, 1948. Came back to Jerusalem in 67.
No, wait a second. Did the Bible prophecy say on May the 10th, 1948, Israel will become a nation. Did it say that? Was there anything very specific that you could point to demonstrate?
Very specific, not the exact date.
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
the end times that when Israel is reunited.
Well, the end times is not specific. That's a general phrase referring to like a state of events. Okay.
Exactly.
But here's the problem with prophecy. Okay, is that unless it seems to me that if you really want to prove prophecy really is prophecy, you have to be able to demonstrate a direct sort of causal link. You have to be able to say, this guy said this at this time. He was particular in, X, Y, Z, and A, B, C. And sure enough, all of those events took place precisely as he said they would. And then you have to... And then you can't just have one example of that. You need to have, numerous. And then you need to have the same person make another prophecy and have the same strike, have the same luck. And then, or not luck, but actually get it just as right as he got the first one. And then he needs to do it a third time, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh. See what I mean? Before you can really...
I can do that if you'll allow me.
All right, go ahead.
At the time that Israel is reborn as a nation, this would mark the end times, and 6 or 7 other things would occur at that same time that are happening exactly right now. Mm-hmm. One of the big ones is an exact numbers. You guys like numbers. It says when Israel is reborn as a nation, there will be kings in the east who will have an army of 200 million men.
Yeah, that's the Chinese thing.
Yeah,
right?
But there's no kings in China.
But China's not run by kings.
And east is anywhere east of Jerusalem.
Yeah, I mean, east could be Australia.
So coincidence that east of Jerusalem there is an army of 200 million
Coincidence?
men.
That's half the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big place that's east of Jerusalem.
There's only one kings of the east, as far east as you go, is China.
And they're not run by kings. They're not run by kings. China is not a kingdom.
You could just as much say Japan as a king or Korea, because they don't either.
You have to put it in the context of what they're talking about.
No, see, here's what you're doing. They can
say, presidents in the north, and prime ministers in the east. A general term, kings of the east. We don't have kings anywhere.
They could have described communism in some way.
This is a term. I mean, they're not going to say, there's going to be a prime minister in the east. That's just stupid.
But see, these guys. If you're talking about prophecy, what you're trying to suggest to us is that there is someone who wrote this down, who had the ability through supernatural means to foresee in the future. If he could do that, he would know what these people were called. He would know that they would be called prime ministers or...
Well, he wasn't writing this for us to... If you're talking to 2,000-year-old...
Well, he wasn't writing this for us to do what?
Okay, 2,000-year-old people, this guy's going to be called a prime... Kings was the term that you used for leaders back in those days.
Yes, but if he's seeing into the...
2,000-year-old man writing this.
Well, they're not the only leaders in the East.
And if he's seeing into the future, if he's using some sort of magical or supernatural ability to see in the future, then it seems to me like he's going to know what stuff...
Trivia.
He's going to know what stuff is called. I mean, but it is trivia.
The vision, and he put it in his terms. He describes.
If he's just putting it in his terms, then how reliable is it? How seriously can we take it?
Incredible.
If this guy is just how can we take it as any sort of a credible prophecy of the future if he is changing terms around to suit himself? I mean, how can we say? Here's what it seems to me.
How would you describe a machine that we're going to make 2,000 years from now that you've never seen before?
I wouldn't try to,
because I don't have the gift of prophecy.
If somebody came and showed you a vision of 2,000 years, you're going to put it in the terms that you live in today.
Well, first off, wait a minute. If somebody
You've never heard the word prime minister before. How is he going to use that word?
Well, okay. If somebody came to me, however they would do it. First off, how would I know that what I was seeing was a prophecy of 2,000 years in the future? I mean, how would I know that
what he was being shown? It had to be interpreted for him.
Well, how would I know if I were being shown some vision? Or if someone came to me, like you suggested, and showed me a vision of 2,000 years in the future, how would I precisely know that was what I was seeing? How would I know I wasn't being tricked?
You wouldn't.
Right.
Neither did he.
So, there you go. So then this whole thing of incontrovertible proof kind of taking a few body blows.
That makes it even more legitimate, because the guy didn't even understand what he was being shown. He said...
Well, if he doesn't understand it, why should I take it seriously? Why should I believe anything that...
Because it just doesn't add up that this guy 2,000 years ago is that smart.
Well, I think that there's a way.
There was not 200 million people on the planet Earth when he wrote this. They didn't even have a number for 200 million. In fact, if you look in the book of Revelation, it's 200,000. There wasn't even a number for 200 million. And he's saying that at the same time that the Jews return to Israel, there will be an army of 200 million people.
Yeah, first of all, that's the translation.
The odds of guessing that would be, trillions to one.
Trillions.
Trillions. Now, how did you come up with that number? I mean, did you just see? Here's the thing.
Okay. Well,
here's the problem that I have.
And in 2,000 years, we'll see if you're right. How many people are going to be in the army in the South, in the biggest nation in the South, 2,000 years from now?
Any number.
Yes.
Wait, any number greater than what they have, any number we give, it will reach that number at some point. Chances are, because population increases and armies increase too. As you said, there are only 2 million people.
It will be a severe quinky dink if you guessed it.
No, what he's saying is
it will reach it for
a large
sure.
number.
How many military are in the U.S.? About
10 million.
10 million?
12.
Okay, 11 million. One day we're gonna have 11 million. One day we'll have 20 million. Chances are, enough time passes, we'll reach whatever number I give.
Yeah, I'll make a
But he didn't do it that way. He said when the Jews returned to Israel, the exact same time. The same generation.
1998.
No, generation will not pass.
Wait a minute. If Israel became a nation in 1948. And the standing Chinese army reached 200 million men in the 1990s. That's not the exact same time.
It actually did it in the it's talking about this generation.
Generation. I want to know the specifics. Like Arlo said, I can make
200 million, 532. Oh wait, 33. One died. That's just ridiculous.
I'll make a prophecy right now that will come true. The world's population will reach 7 billion.
What's 6 billion now?
Right. So someday.
But a billion's a big number.
The 7 billion and one.
Tell me what it's going to be 2,000 years in the future, and then you've got some credibility.
Did he say in his thing? Right. And does it say in the text
exactly
you're reading?
When the generation
2,000 years in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Are you sure you're just not interpreting it that way?
He says. Well, he didn't put a date on it. He says when the Jews returned to Israel.
Okay, so
it would have helped if he put a date on it.
What if the Jews had returned to Israel like 200 years ago, and
then
when
it would
China
have been totally off? It would not have any credibility whatsoever.
Right.
Because there was no army in China whatsoever, hardly.
Okay, so what you're doing is here's the thing about prophecy. Okay.
And if they did it 100 years in the future, it wouldn't have any credibility. Right now is the only time that all of these, and there's hundreds. I mean, there's.
But it still doesn't have any credibility because
there's a whole litany of things that are coming true right now.
Wait, now you've always said called on our show, and you've always said there's millions of prophecies. All you ever point out is this one. You've called in our show. This is like the fourth or fifth time you've called in, and you
before?
yes,
okay.
yes,
okay,
and this is like you've always called in a show, and you always use this one prophecy. If there's so many, why is this the only
one deal? There's a whole bunch of them.
But you always start with this one. This is the best you got, and you say there's so many, and that shows that maybe these others really aren't. They're a lot less impressive, and chances are one prophecy is going to fit the most, which this one doesn't really.
Well,
we've already established that there aren't any kings in the east. That if the prophecy is only referring to kings in the east, that could be anywhere east of Jerusalem or east of the state of Israel on the globe.
It could be, but it's not. It's China.
Well, because that's what you're doing. What's called retrofitting. Okay, you're plugging in.
I would retrofit it. Okay,
if it hadn't been China and it had been India, you'd say India.
If it had been India, you would say India. Precisely.
Sure. If it had a 200 million man army, that would fit the prophecy.
But that wouldn't prove that it was a prophecy that was made that was accurate.
Let's move to the next one.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll give you one more, and then we got other calls.
Yeah.
Will be a great military, kings of the north, that will terrify the whole planet, which is directly north of Jerusalem is Russia. Moscow is a direct line.
Okay, I've heard Jack Van Impe do this one. There's this. If you look if you draw a line
direct Gog back to the Russian people.
Yeah, if you draw a line apparently north from Jerusalem straight up, you hit Moscow, and this is this is the kind of thing. See, this is the kind of thing that the sort of information, this kind of information that. You hear people who are really fond of big conspiracy theories try to talk. It's like, oh, well, this has to have some significance because this is in relation to this in this way. Well, so what? I mean, again, prove the supernatural influence. Prove that there was some sort of force happening all these years ago that is outside of what we understand nature, using some sort of magical powers, providing this information. And why couldn't it have been more specific? Instead of kings of the north, why didn't it say Russia, Moscow? Instead of kings in the east, it does. The Bible says Russia and Moscow?
Yes.
No, it says...
it says Gog and Magog.
Oh, yeah, Gog and Russia. Right.
Sir, Gog and Magog are not the same words as Russia and Moscow.
Yes, it is.
No.
They're the same people.
Gog, Russia. See? Do you see how those two words sound different? Gog, Russia. Moscow, Okay, Magog. Okay, I'll get you. Moscow and Magog start with the M, but that's about as far as you get. Moscow and Magog aren't the same word.
Hello.
Whoa, wait, hang on.
That's not me.
Hang on. For some reason, we ended up with this another line on the air at the same time. Okay, but here's the problem. It's your... I was trying to put him back on hold. I'm sorry, caller. We had somebody else break in.
You're still there, though, right?
Yeah, he's still here.
Okay. All right.
It seems to me that these, however you want to interpret these, you're going to do it. You're going to be able to do it, and we're not going to be able to prove to you that they're wrong because it sounds right to you. But all we're trying to say is, how can you determine that this really says what you think it says, and that it was really influenced by any sort of magical means? How can you establish that?
I would move to the next series of major coincidences that at the same time that this reestablished Israel, there will be the biggest power is going to be Europe, which is the 10-nation confederacy, which is 12 nations actually right now.
I've always heard it prophesized that this northern army, which is supposedly Russia, is going to take over Jerusalem. I've heard from many people.
Yeah, it will cover the land like a cloud.
Now, why would they do that? What does Israel have that Russia wants or needs in terms of resources or anything else?
Well, if you read it, it actually isn't just Russia. It's a conglomeration of Russia, Iran, and Iraq. And
they're all going to join together?
Okay, where is Russia?
They are right now.
Where is Russia and Iran and Iraq?
Russia's giving out suitcase nukes to Iraqis.
Wait, where is Russia, Iraq, and Iran listed by name in Revelation? I've got the book.
It's called Persia.
Persia back then was okay, but it wasn't Iran yet.
Well,
okay. See, here's what I'm saying.
That's quibbling over trivialities. You know that lots.
Well, but you're suggesting that there is.
Iran has been called many things in the last 2,000 years.
Your hits are trivialities.
The reason that I am quibbling over trivialities is because what you are claiming is that there is some sort of magical divine force giving out information about future events that you're claiming is 100% accurate. If this is the case, then these trivialities should be known. They should all be lined up in a neat little row like ducks.
Well, you have to understand that this is a 2,000-year-old man interpreting things that he's never even seen a mechanical device in his life.
Well,
and he's describing helicopters thundering like horses. He's putting it in his terms that he can only write down as a human being.
Well, but if God is giving him these prophecies, why can't God just tell him, look, they're called helicopters, here's how you spell it. I know you don't know what they are.
Because that wouldn't make sense to anybody that's ever read it until the last 50 years.
Yeah, but it would certainly impress me today to say, gosh, you know what, there's this book, and it's 2,000 years ago, and they're talking about helicopters.
You know what we should do?
What's that?
We should have, and you'd be welcome to call back, we should have a biblical prophecy show.
Definitely.
Biblical prophecy showdown.
Where we lay out where we lay out all the biblical prophecies, and you could say why you think it's correct, and we could rebut it. Okay. And it's an actual, just a show. We could easily take up that.
That's how people learn stuff.
Well, we'll think about that. But but you're right. Well, we do have another caller on the line, and we also want to talk to Arlo. So we appreciate your call. I'm sorry to say, I'm not as convinced as you are by the nature of these prophecies.
Well, if you see a one-world currency coming up real quick, then you'll know.
Well, I see European currency, but I think we're still
keeping. Euro-dollar will be our currency in the not too distant future.
Okay. Are you okay? Is that a prophecy in the Bible?
Yes.
Find it for me. Give me the date that
the Mark of the Beast.
Give me the date that it happened.
Mark of the Beast.
Boy. Okay.
It's right under the black helicopter.
In the 1990s, Mark of the Beast was the internet. In the 1980s, Mark of the Beast was credit cards. Credit cards. In the 1970s, the Mark of the Beast was the scanners, those little barcodes.
Yeah, the barcodes. Right.
It's always something, isn't it?
Those are all good analogies.
Yes, well,
all good analogies, like the euro dollar.
Credit card, the euro dollar will be a biometric implant under your right hand.
Okay.
Now it's bio implants.
Tim, I think you've just kind of gone over the top for us now. So thanks very much, and you take care. That was very kooky. Yeah, bioelectric implant in my hand. Right. Okay. And Ezekiel saw a UFO. What do you have? Sorry, but that's just, it's complete nonsense. Okay, this is
Ezekiel saw a helicopter.
Look, I have news for all folks who think like our friend Tim. The world is not going to end. You're going to be fine, okay? The human race is going to go through its peaks and its valleys. We're going to have hard times.
This would be a prophecy, just like when Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled."
Yeah.
He was talking about the second coming and God's kingdom on earth.
Within the lifetimes
of the people that he was talking to, like a prophecy like that. Jesus can't make a true prophecy. What makes you think everybody else can?
No, I don't know what it is that there are certain people in the Christian community who are really, really fond of these grim end time eschatological scenarios, and I don't really understand what it is. This whole sort of violent end of the world and war of Megiddo and everything. I really don't know what what that provides to your life that you find fulfilling. But the world is going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Live your life. Be happy. Enjoy it. Okay. And if something comes along to improve the economy, like a better system of money, well, okay. But I don't think I'm all that interested in getting a chip in my hand. I don't, would you be? Would you? I mean, if they did that, I'd probably say, well, that's kind of stupid. Why can't I just have a new credit card? So anyway.
But whatever you do, don't move to Gog or Magog.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Any kind of biochip implants we're
Gog,
seeing.
Russia. I mean, this one has one syllable. This one has two. Okay, they only share one letter. Anyhow, okay. Chaz, let's see what he has to say about this. Hello, Chaz.
Yeehaw! Listen here, boys. I done have me a vision. Tomorrow, there will be rumors of wars, and there will be s'mores.
No.
That's pretty specific. Are you sure?
I'm positive because my secretary and my assistant, okay, they got a big bet over this Bernie Mac show, and I'm telling you, it's a war. Okay.
All right.
No, just honestly, guys, just 1 second, please. If I may make a serious point.
Sure.
I think, if I might, I believe that a certain amount of belief in these prophecies of doom times is based upon race. There is a hatred amongst Christians, if you will, for the quote-unquote killers of Christ.
The what? The killers of
Christ Jews, okay?
Oh.
And yet they worship a Jew. Christ was a Jew. Not only was he a Jew, but there were only two peoples in Jerusalem at the time of Christ. They were the Europeans, the Romans, and there were the African descendants of Jews and Ethiopians and Egyptians. Okay, so either Christ was white or he was black. Now, he wasn't a Roman. We all know that. Okay, so he was obviously
assuming
of
he ever lived.
But we'll
right.
He was. Well, the thing, but not. It gets deeper than, and that's why I think a lot of people they want to be a part of something special. Their lives are not special. They don't do anything huge in their life. So the way that they grasp at it is to say, I'm going to live in a time in which
important
really
things
special will happen.
Yeah.
And listen, the reason he talks about Gog and Magog is because that's very so closely to Zog, or the Zionist occupied government, which we live in right now. And also that's part of the one world thing, because all of us, and I'm Hispanic and half black and Jewish, so I'm like all of them, okay? And we do meet in cabals, okay? And plan this whole destruction. And just to end on and stuff, if I may, I believe that these religious zealots who did what they did up in New York a few months ago and stuff, caused all this terrible collateral damage and stuff, are...
Well, though they were the intended victims, so...
But I mean, the thing is that there's collateral damage because he did declare war on us, if you remember, in an ABC interview 5 years ago.
Yeah, back in 95.
Exactly. I mean, so this isn't like it was... We just decided to look away. Okay, here's more WWF. We have it already controlled. Go back to sleep. Here's like warriors of... just one more point.
Well, Chaz.
And there's this. And people... If we had the same type of right-wing zealots in control in this country, the Jerry Falwells and the Pat Robertsons, we would be committing the same type of atrocities that our founding fathers did with the worst terrorist incident in the history of this country, which was the giving out of the smallpox blankets to the American Indians, causing 25,000 Americans dead. God bless you guys. Take it easy. Bye.
Chaz, one word, decaf.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. That was very entertaining. I don't know that I don't think that the smallpox infections, of the American Indians was like an intentional act of terrorism. Okay? It was like... These were like a bunch of idiots living in a really, filthy, and pre-scientific culture who brought their diseases with them, and the Indians had no resistance, and they, started dropping like flies. Now, the intended act of terrorism was to forcibly convert them all to Christianity. That was the intended act. And Amanda, Jeff's wife, sent me some interesting information about the Indian cultures and actual governments that existed in North American continent before, the white men came over and messed everything up, and how very close the resemblance that it bears, to the kinds of democratic societies that we put together. The point being that you always hear about how American a Christian nation, but when the Christian contribution to the whole sort of constitutional democracy that we have is pretty much close to zip and zilch, because a lot of these kinds of societies already existed in the Americas, well back into the very first millennium. So anyway.
So this segues into something I just want to touch on.
Yeah,
really
we have a lull in the calls. Let's get over to your.
Because as I was speaking of how it seems like many European countries don't have this problem of people trying to tear down the wall of church and state, and I think a big part of why we have religious fundamentalists here is it's not only a lack. Mostly we touch on a lack of scientific teachings in public schools or whatever. But is there something coming in there? Sorry.
Oh, it's. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. People told me. The United States, you'd expect it to be more open-minded because we're a big melting pot of cultures. But when we have so many cultures brought in together and to teach history back by hundreds or thousands of years to our ancestors who came from different lands, how would you choose any one land? It would seem quite arbitrary. And we don't know about the Crusades as well as people in European countries do. Like, for instance, in Latvia, Latvians say, it's a misunderstanding that many people think Latvians aren't religious because of the Soviet occupation. It's not that. It's because of the Christian occupation. That's really what pissed people off, and what people remember is what it was like to be forced to be Christian and to be forced to go to church by their rich masters at the time. The Latvians were treated by slaves by the German Christians who had taken over many times. And of course, we're not gonna hear about that here. We're not gonna hear about that religious persecution because these people actually live on the same land, and also what they have that we don't is their mythologies of their ancestors. And you can see the similarities between modern religion, modern myth, and past myths. And people have the view of modern religion as, this is just like what people believed, moon god, forest goddesses, a son of God being born from a virgin. This is all just fairy tales. And many people have that attitude towards the Bible. It's fairy tales. And when I tell people, no, in America, people literally believe the Bible. If you're like, no, really? I mean, aren't you very? Isn't the U.S. in a creation story? People can't believe that there's people who want to take away evolution from the curriculum and put in creationism. And people are like, but they're just fairy tales. I thought the United States was, so superior in science. And no, we're superior in technological science. We know our computers very well, but what we don't know is an evolutionary perspective. We're completely at a loss for that. Wow. It's amazing. Just average people on the streets in many European countries, they could tell you the theory of natural selection in quite detail, and we can't do that here.
No. But, that's right. I mean, there's a move afoot.
Movement afoot.
Yeah, No, now we're sounding like conspiracy nuts. No, but constantly there have been challenges to, the teaching of proper science curriculum, and this whole idea that, no, we should, teach these creation fantasies as, acceptable alternate theories.
Equal time.
Equal time. Well, the thing is, we don't give equal time to astrologers in astronomy class, and we don't give equal time to flat Earth theory nuts in geology class.
I think that the equal time would go where the pastor should get up in his congregation and say, "In the beginning, God created." Let's read, and then at the end, give a disclaimer.
Yeah,
now, this is a theory,
right.
Theory only, hasn't been proven.
And that
would be equal time.
And they're not offering to, talk about origin of species in their Sunday school rooms either. So fortunately, it has been constantly shot down, by every time it's been heard by a school board or a court, it has been shot down because it's recognized very clearly. Now, of course, we don't want to get into a big evolution discussion on, today's program, but we're just listing this as an example of, how religiosity, influencing an entire culture to a certain degree to where the cultures are just become completely alien from one another, right?
Well, if they don't pray in my school, I won't think in their church.
Yes.
What's interesting is the mysticism I did see there wasn't really religious oriented. It's more harmless, but still superstition nonetheless. Like, there's little beliefs that people have, like putting a fish scale in your purse will bring you more money somehow. And what's interesting
like
is
little folk superstition.
Yeah, things like that. And even religious holidays, though, are completely different there. Like on Easter, everybody builds a giant swing, and you get a bunch of people on the swing, and you swing on it, and the higher you swing, the less mosquitoes will bite you throughout the summer. This is how people celebrate Easter.
How many injuries from these swings that are
I've been curious about that. I haven't spent an Easter there yet, but and that can be kind of annoying. And a lot of people just kind of follow along with it. They don't really believe it. They follow along with it as a cultural thing. But still, I've met plenty of people who literally believe it. Right. And even the old familiar black cat crossing the path. Some people they get freaked out if they see a black cat. Things like that. But at least it's not going to interfere with the government. It's not going to interfere with my life as a non-believer. Yeah. You're not going to be criticized for not believing those little things.
Yeah, and they're not suggesting, there's not like this group of angry parents demanding that you teach in school that if a black cat crosses your path, you'll have 7 years of...
Schools are completely secular. They don't, they would never even suggest the Ten Commandments in schools. And for the people who say that terrorist attacks happen to the United States and school shootings happen here because we don't have religion in schools. Oh, come on. There's lots of European countries out there that do not either, and they're not having these same problems. Don't pin it to that.
Yeah. No, but that's when those are the people who look upon tragedies as opportunities to be exploited. Yeah. For their own little agenda or what have you. We have callers on the line. Ooh. Jeff D. Who the hell's that?
Who's Jeff D?
Well, we'll figure it out. Let's see.
Better be a good caller.
Hello, Jeff.
Hiya, Martin.
Hey, what's going on?
Enjoying the show.
How weird was that to see the show come on and nobody knew that the show was on? Did you see the very beginning of the show?
No, actually, I came in half an hour late. We were out on the road.
Okay, yeah. Well, the clock was wrong in here. And
what?
So the clock was wrong in here. Oh. And so we started, and we thought we still had about 6 minutes to go.
And you were sitting around going, do-do-do-do-do.
I wasn't even in here. I came in, and I'm like, guys, we're on TV. So, all right. Well, good.
No,
we're glad.
I'm calling in to say, congratulations for inheriting the prophet Tim.
Oh.
that flying retard used to call the show regularly when it was me and Ray. And, I thought, in fact, he had told me that, we had given him food for thought, and he was really, rethinking all this stuff, and maybe it wasn't so, and apparently, for some reason, he's just gone completely back into it.
I think he read his Nostradamus biography over again and got fired up again.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I think that
he's a total idiot. He's heard every refutation that any rational person would need to hear to realize that all that prophecy stuff is complete bull, and he's still doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think that our second caller, who was a little bit caffeinated, still made the valid point that there are people, I think, who want to feel as if they are part of something important. And I think that this does inform not only the prophecy crowd, but of course the conspiracy black helicopter nuts. There's also the whole romantic notion of, ooh, I have secret knowledge that I'm not supposed to have.
Yeah.
And if they knew I had it, they'd come after me, and that makes me important and special.
Those people need to swallow a big spoonful of reality and realize that actual, real important things are more important than their imaginary important things. And that it screws with all the rest of us when these idiots are believing all kinds of made-up important things so they can feel special, right? And going around pretending like it's really true.
I understand what it's like for them, because in my early teens, and I can forgive myself for this now because I was just a kid, but I used to kind of go along with the whole UFO stuff, and believe in and have a weird enough dream, think, oh, maybe I was abducted by aliens, and get attention from my friends by talking about kooky stuff like that. I was into the whole UFO thing.
Yeah, me too, Arlo.
Oh, yeah?
But
yeah.
Did Tim sound like he's in his early teens?
No, I know. Yeah, I'm just saying, though, but because of that, I can think back to that, and I can kind of understand, and it's hard to understand how someone can not grow out of this, but...
Well, again, you see. Well, the question that I always put, especially to the whole 200 million army crowd, the folks who are real fond of that one, is, what does puny little Israel have that big old China wants or needs, and why would they invade Israel? Why would Russia?
If it's all part of some mysterious supernatural plan, then it doesn't have to make any sense.
It doesn't have to make sense.
What does have to make sense, and you were absolutely right, is if it's going to be a prophecy, if you're going to say it's divinely inspired, then it has to be specific. Yeah. Right? Because else it's not prophecy. Yeah. Else it's just vague generalizations that people are later interpreting, which is exactly what Tim is doing. They don't name the country. They don't name the date, right?
Yeah.
It's all, somewhere in that direction at some time, when, and these references, by the way, to Israel being disbanded and coming back, those are not prophecies. This guy has no idea of the actual history of that region. Israel got split into two nations called Israel and Judah.
Way back then.
Back in Old Testament times.
Yes.
That is what those passages are about. That's what those are referring to. And if they are talking about it happening in some future time, then it's just a, vague warning because it happened to us once before. That could happen again. It is not a specific, this is going to happen in the future. That's absolute nonsense.
Jeff, I made almost exactly the same point, too. There's a young lady that I've been having an email correspondence with all week.
You talked about that already on the show?
Not about that, no. But I'm glad you brought up that point because she had, given me Isaiah chapter 7 as a prophecy of Jesus. And I said, well, that's not a prophecy of Jesus. And in her subsequent post, in her response to me, she said, well, it's not, but it also is. It's actually it's a double prophecy.
It's a double prophecy.
Yeah, it's apparently says yes. Well, and I said, look, what standards are you using? I mean, you could basically, if you're saying that, okay, I'll admit that maybe this prophecy was about this specific thing at this specific time, but it also happens to seem kind of similar to this other thing that happened. I'm just going to say it's a double prophecy referring to both those things. Well, what criterion are you using?
I always wondered if someone would use that argument.
You're saying that because that's what you want it to be. That's what you want it to say. So that's why you say it says that.
Yeah, I mean, Tim has heard all the refutations any rational person needs to hear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the prophecy he's referring to is not specific about anything, right? There are more specific prophecies in the Bible by Jesus himself. I think Arlo brought up this point, right?
Matthew 27
David brought up this point that Jesus told his disciples this was all going to come to pass before they died, okay? And that's clearly false.
Oops.
But on top of that, human history is just full of these predictions of the end of the world that never come true. We used to do a segment on the TV show there called the Rapture Report, right? We're doing that again on our radio show.
Oh, are they coming back? End of the world predictions?
Well, there's a few more now since September 11th.
Trickling?
Right?
Oh, right.
And
that got the industry back into gear. Yeah.
Great.
One of the recent ones we did is there was an Assyrian clay tablet from 2800 BC.
Okay.
And on it says, humanity has become corrupt and isn't following the laws and is doing all these bad things, and this is a clear sign that the world is about to end. This is 2800 BC.
Everything.
Wow, how did they know?
Anybody who tells you the world is about to end is a flying retard.
Yeah, that's right. And probably a hopping, skipping, and jumping
retard. That's enough of my call, I think. Hang up on me.
No, well, we appreciate your feedback. And, I mean, you're when was the last time Tim, did he call at any time when I was co-host? I think
I don't think he did. That was all kind of over.
Back when you were back when you were with Ray, and it was you and Ray. And
he's had a second coming. Right?
Yeah, so... Well, I guess he just kind of thought that, we'd go a little easier on him, and, well.
No, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, man, good to hear from you. Thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Just a reminder, and I forgot to, because we were so flustered at the beginning of the show, Jeff is the host of a new ACA internet radio show called Non-Prophets. Prophets, speaking of prophecy, being spelled P-R-O-P-H-E-T-S. That is on the atheistnetwork.com website. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon every Saturday. It's hosted by Jeff and co-hosted by Vic Farrow, and it's a ton of fun. It's a kind of different format than this show because he doesn't have the live call-in feature, but there is a chat feature that you can get on and type in, and it's do the internet real-time chat there. And sometimes they'll interact with, if there's an interesting discussion going on in the chat room. Sometimes there's a whole other thread of discussion going on in the chat room. But it's a terrific show, and it's 2 in the afternoons on Saturday at atheistnetwork.com. Your browser will need the Real Player plugin in order to hear the audio stream. Okay, well, heck, let's just let's keep the love fest happening. Go to Scott on line 2. Hello, Scott?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Just fine, man. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Yeah, the reason I was calling to let you guys know that my uncle is that Reverend Ricky.
Oh, that's your uncle.
Yeah, and
okay.
I want to tell you guys that he's really an atheist.
Who?
Well,
Uncle or Reverend Ricky? Because sometimes
I don't know. I guess he was implying.
His uncle is Reverend Ricky?
Well, that's what he claimed.
And he is an atheist.
yeah.
That's what he claimed. I don't know what the point of that call was. Maybe then Reverend Ricky, maybe he's just trying to get Reverend Ricky to call our show and really say, no, I'm not, and blah, blah, blah.
sometimes Reverend Ricky is just so completely out there. Sometimes I suspect, man.
Well, we don't want to talk about other guys' shows on our show. I mean, if they want to call us and talk to us, that's fine. But, we'll see if what Johan has to say. Johan?
Yeah.
Hey, you're on the air. How you doing?
It's Johanus.
Johanus.
Right.
Johanus. Hi. Okay.
Well, she ran out of boardroom, and she only had room for Johan.
Johan.
You need a shorter name, or we need a bigger board.
Yeah. What's going on?
Well, I heard you mention that if Jesus existed, well, I'm an atheist, so you know I agree with most of your points. But one of the theories about Jesus and him calling himself the Son of God was that he actually was member of a society of priests who, I don't know, I think it was the Hebraic word for
Or was it
sons of God.
Are you talking about the Essenes?
That might be it.
Yeah.
So that, and then I also wanted to say to the earlier caller who you had a long argument about the kings of the East with.
Oh, right. The Prophecy Tim.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Well, the Jews have always at some point been in Israel. Or in the area.
Yeah, kind of the hood, isn't it?
Well, and so they've all, you know, if he said that there weren't even 200 million people in the world at that time, then how would that so-called prophet how would he even be able to fathom the number 200 million? And so you can look back at the empires or kings of the East, such as the Persians or the Mongols, were there thousands of years before. And the point where China's army reached 200 million didn't even coincide with Israel's founding.
Yeah, but of course, Jeff made a correct point in that what is being referred to in that passage was the splitting of Israel, the nation of Israel, being split into the two nations at that time, and then reuniting at a later time. Now, another point that Jeff didn't bring up that I meant to, and then just remembered, was that another thing you can say about the entirety of human history is that you tend to see a lot of patterns, okay?
Right.
You see nations rise and fall, and kings rise and fall, and civilizations rise and fall. And, you know, there tend to be, you know, oppressive, you know, despots over here, and then the rebellions and this and that. You see all of these patterns in human behavior, and it's inevitable that, you know, you'll see, I mean, people, when you get right down to it, are people. We all kind of have the same wants and hopes and desires, and there's always going to be, you know, that one little group of folks who, you know, has this thirst for power, and then there's always going to be this little group of folks over here for whom their lot in life is just to, you know, be the hoi polloi and the peasantry and what have you. And it's, you know, and there's nothing really all that special about it. And if it happened 1,000 years ago, it could very well happen now again, or 1,000 years from now. You know, of course, the technology and the hairstyles might be a little different, but, you know, overall, you do get there are certain consistent patterns that you see in, you know, in world history and in human behavior. I mean, when, you know, how many prophecies of the Antichrist were tossed around, and we know every time you got a guy like Napoleon or Hitler or, you know,
or popes.
Now popes or Bin Laden, or now whoever the next guy who terrorizes the world is going to be. There's going to be a bunch of people saying, well, now here, see, this is the end times prophecies coming true. So it's, you know, just, it's, I think, you know, I do think it's all about folks just, you know, it brings a sense of import to their lives, I guess. I don't get it, but.
Well, it's a lot easier to hang on to something like that than to, you know, shape a picture of the world on your own. And another thing I was going to say about the Bible is also that, I mean, imagine that in 2,000 years somebody finds an old copy of the Brother Grimm's fairy tales and interprets it as
Lord of the
Bible.
Yeah.
Right, the Lord of the Rings, you know. Gandalf will be God.
Just sort of, there was a, I think that has probably been the theme for one or two science fiction stories. You know, someone finding some old children's book that's 10,000 years old in the distant future, and, you know, reconstructing our entire society based on some kind of Mother Goose nursery rhyme. You know, I mean, it could happen. I mean, you think about it. I mean,
it has happened.
I mean, I love, you know, I'm a big fan of, you know, I'm a sort of an armchair archaeology buff, and I love history. But
Let's hope they don't get Springer tapes.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. What?
There's a story in The Onion one time about literalist Aesopians.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The grapes, the sour grapes, or
sour
whatever.
grapes, the literalist Aesop fables people in the little spoof article of an Onion website. Great website. But you're dead right. So anything else for us?
No, that'd be all. Thank you.
We appreciate hearing from you, and you take care. Okay, we just would like to remind all of our the non-believers in the Peanut Gallery that we have our Sunday morning meetings at Hot Jumbo Bagels, 307 West 5th Street. That's downtown, between Guadalupe and Lavaca. It's about a block west of Antone's. It's a meeting, just a social gathering for unbelievers only. Maybe atheist, agnostic, atheist-friendly persons. If you're curious about the group, think you might like to meet some other unbelievers, come on out and meet us if you like. And, and we promise we'll shower and brush our teeth and be all presentable for you.
I'll do some of those.
Okay. Well, at least brush that one tooth that you keep missing. Yeah. All right. Mary on 2. Let's see what Mary has to say. That's correct. Yeah, next caller. Okay. Hello, Mary?
Hi.
Hello, Mary. Oh, hi, Mary. How are you?
It's your friendly neighborhood, run-of-the-mill atheist.
Yeah. How you doing?
Well, doing good. I called because of the serious end-time prophecies. I find really serious end-time prophecies on X-Files, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are serious end-time prophecies. That's the kind I can laugh at. But I guess being an atheist means that I just don't have to worry about all that stuff.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I think it is.
Just kind of get on with your life.
Sweet life. All the animals in the neighborhood think I'm this wonderful person because I don't worry, and I just live a regular, ordinary, sweet life.
Good.
Don't get very upset, and that's the best benefit of being an atheist. Is not having to cloud your head up with all of that worrisome stuff that I don't really think is true anyway. So why worry about it? But even if it is true, who cares? There's so much fun to have in life, barbecues and dancing, and if you like beer, you can have that, and just having fun. Isn't that what it basically is about? But my family's mad at me because they think I have too much fun. So they're not on speaking terms with me because I'm supposed to be working real, real hard for getting a lot of money and all of that, and I just can't do it because I have to stop and have fun all the time.
Oh, well, can't you have you figured out a way to
existence?
Yeah, haven't you figured out a way to do the two at once?
Not
can't you
yet.
have fun?
I have to stay focused.
Focused on fun.
Yeah, well, if it's fun, it's
There you
fun.
So you get the choice, you're fork in the road, money or fun, you took fun.
Yeah, for now.
All right.
The money,
Good for you.
maybe it'll happen and maybe it won't, but I'll still have the fun.
That's right.
Hey, Arlo, it's good to see you, dude.
Nice to hear from you, Mary.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that your corner of the world is fine in the love department, but you need to get her over here.
I'm trying.
Trying. If there's anything that, we can do, put the word out, and just ask.
Yeah, send in Delta Force or something.
Okay? Because, you should have her here because if that's what makes you happy, that's what you need to have.
Yeah, well, she can't fit in any of my suitcases. We're just going to have to do everything the embassy commands us to do and give them all the money they're asking for. It's just going to take some time.
That's bribery.
Wait till it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We're gonna hear that'll be like the next big news report.
Yeah, that makes me want to cuss, so I better get off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other callers. Okay.
Thanks.
Hey, call you later.
Hey.
One of these days, maybe I'll make the bagel shop.
Yes, well,
You always say that.
I know, but I'm lazy. I can have fun right here. Why should I leave the house? But anyway, I'll talk to you, lady. I'll take it easy.
Yes, we will do so.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Boy, she's just more fun than a...
Yeah, it's great. Atheists can be fun and happy.
I tell you.
I wonder, why can't people see that?
Boy, that would be like the next big news article, wouldn't it? But Central Austin Postal Center was closed down because a Latvian girl was found in an envelope. So that's sneaky, Arlo. Okay, anyway. Let's see. We're being told to remind of everyone of the rally, which I will do now. That is this coming Saturday, folks. It's on the South Capitol steps. That's the one. This is set facing downtown, and this will be a church-state separation rally celebrating the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists. It's going to be. We're just going to have speakers. It's going to be a very nice event. We're going to have both the theistic speakers as well as some of us. Myself and David will speak. Jeff D will speak, and. just to remind everyone that, our nation was deliberately set up to be a secular nation, and that you can only have true religious freedom in a secular nation. Okay, so separation of church and state was not this thing that was set up to, stamp out religion in all its forms. It was set up to protect religion, as well as the rights of those of us who choose not to have a religion. Okay, on to line 1, Manda. Howdy do.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
How are ya?
Well, welcome back, Arlo.
Thank you.
Welcome back again.
It's great being back.
I can't believe Tim's calling again. I could never have foreseen that.
Yeah. Well, actually, in 1 Timothy, and lo, thou shalt experience.
He's willing to cut those prophets, a lot of slack. I mean, couldn't this guy have had a vision couldn't he have said, instead of kings, he could have foreseen one of those whatchamacallits that the Greeks have, or one of those councils, those senators. They had words for those things. They knew what those were.
Sure.
But I can't find a shred of moral inspiration or accurate prediction in that book called the Bible, or any of its many little pieces. We don't get instructions on how to abolish slavery or an admonition, having slaves is not nice. We get hints for how to punish your slaves.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Well, that's Paul, but, claiming to...
Yeah, and we don't get instructions on what's going to happen. We don't get a prelude. We get things like, when a faltering dog makes water on the high hill, then shall a lucid log eat 1,000 mice. And we're left here, the best you can do is say,
Jesus did that.
What the heck? What do those things mean? And try to shoehorn things you know and see and force them. A log could be a long brown object. Maybe it means a limousine. That's interpretation.
Or a tank, or
Yeah, but the prophecy is, what could he have seen that looked like a king? What in our day and age looks like a king? Does anything look like a king? Is there anything that he could have looked at in a crystal ball or in a vision and seen and said, must be a king?
The Pope.
And
Pope, yeah, the Pope.
What's meaningful about the number of so many million of them? If he probably, if he did have a vision, I think that he would have seen bunches. A whole lot. Let's call it maybe 2 million.
Oh.
And then let's go on to this north thing. How does he know it's north? Was there a compass in his vision in the corner? Did he see something that looked kind of like something that he knew was north of where he lived? Could he have seen Moscow and known Moscow was north of where he lived?
I think his visions had commentary or something.
He's gotten
get numbers.
This vision of his apparently has highly accurate numbers and directions.
Yeah.
But
good, then I want him to give me the lottery numbers for Wednesday.
Yeah, it doesn't combine the two and say, 5,279 cubits from here, or ells, or whatever measurements they favored in those days. All he has to do is give a direction. He's got a heading, and he's got all the mental faculties for distance, we would hope.
Yeah, why couldn't they do distance?
And he's got numbers, but all his vision can tell us is that some number of people from some place with a ruler of a kind we no longer have are going to frighten everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I got a prediction for you.
Okay.
When customers buy groceries in a Kmart that no longer has anyone at the checkout counter, and gas prices drop to a number divisible by both 7 and 11, then the world is going to end.
My goodness.
All right, well, we'll hold you to that, Amanda.
Okay. See you guys.
No, thanks for the feedback. Point is, again, this gets around to the central thing about just prophecy in general. Is that it can be what you want it to be. That's the nice thing about it. It's saying to, kings in the east, to kings in the north, this, that, or the other. It's all conveniently it's just specific enough to where you can say it says this, but it's just vague enough to where you can say what it says is what I want it to say after all. Now, you trained as a minister, right? And you went to a Christian college, right? Now, you probably have an interesting outlook on the whole prophecy issue that you might want to share, just from the training you underwent.
Well, they don't do any. There's no extra special knowledge you get, really, which is one of the reasons that I'm not a minister, because my questions were not sufficiently answered. But I think when it comes to prophecies, one of the things that I was really neat was a book that I read. called Bible Prophecy, Failure or Fulfillment, by, I believe it's Tim Callahan. And he takes biblical prophecies and he puts them to like a test, like I think 5 different questions. Did the person who wrote the prophecy in any way affect the happening of the prophecy? Did the person who wrote the prophecy, looking at political and current events of the time, was he able to make a guess that most people would have made at the time? I mean, there's just tons of... Had the prophecy already been fulfilled when it was written in the Bible, which is another bone of contention, because there's a lot of scholars that say many things were inserted.
Yeah.
So
like the Daniel.
Yeah, he's got like 4 or 5 different things that he puts these prophecies to scrutiny, and then you find that on at least one of those 5 things, every prophecy in the Bible comes up with one of those things that then discounts it as this cannot be a valid prophecy, because there's at least one way where it could have been done another way.
Yeah.
So,
well, the first point that you brought up, I think, is extremely important, and that is, if you're the believer in some sort of faith or some kind of belief system or religion, or even if it's just some sort of wacky fringe political movement, and if you know that there's a prophecy associated with it, well, then it's very easy, depending on your level of fanaticism. You can just go right out and fulfill that prophecy tomorrow. Right. It's like, oh, well, it says here in the book something of the something that, there's all these buildings that are supposed to blow up. Well, I'll just go to a construction site and steal some, C4, and I'll take care of that right quick. Oh, the prophecy's fulfilled. So it's, there's nothing special about it. So, well, let's see what our callers have to say. I think Chad is next on line 3. He's been waiting a while. Hello, Chad.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Just fine. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, well, I just have, first of all, I should tell you that I'm not an atheist, but I do want to find out what you guys think and how extreme your beliefs are. As far as, we guys have talked a lot about what happens on this earth and what everyone's beliefs are, and we're not quite sure we understand all of them, but when you guys look at, just the sheer expanse of space and the cosmos and all the things that we don't understand, are you guys closed to the belief that there could be something that we don't understand that could be similar to something that we would call God?
I wouldn't say I'm closed to that idea. I've always been open-minded to that idea.
Yeah.
I've certainly found a reason to believe in such beings.
You want to go next?
For me personally, when I look at all these things that you mentioned, it staggers me. It's awe-inspiring. Nature is just fascinating. But I have not yet found a need to assume a supernatural cause, because I have not yet seen a supernatural cause working. I've only seen natural elements working, and so as a result of that, I don't need to make that leap. And many things, people say, well, but we don't know about this. So there are a lot of things we don't know about. But not too long ago, they didn't know what lightning was, and so they thought that God did it. But as you can see now, we don't need that. So I don't think there's a reason to include a God into it. It would be a God of the gaps, is what it's called. Because we don't know it, we must assume it's a supernatural or some powerful being.
Yeah, there's a quote from an astronomer who worked in the court of Napoleon, who presented Napoleon with his, all his explanation of the heavens. Yeah, Laplace. With his explanation of the heavenly bodies and the stars and planets and how it all works. And Napoleon is said to have asked him, but monsieur, what about God? And Laplace said, I have no need of that hypothesis. My view is I wait to see what the evidence shows before I make decisions on things. Yes, there is a vast amount about this incredibly enormous and amazing universe in which we live that we don't know. But the honest response to make when you don't know the answer to a particular question is, I don't know the answer. It's not the honest thing to do to just fill in gaps in your knowledge with beliefs. Okay, I mean, that's just not a valid way to go about answering questions. You can certainly speculate. You can say, well, I don't know how this works, so could this be a possible explanation? But then the thing you do is you go out and you see if there is evidence to support what you think that explanation might be. It's not the proper thing to do just to say, oh, well, I don't know why, galaxies work the way they work, so it's God. And, end of questioning, and no more need to study that subject.
Well, can I just follow up with this? The gentleman that was studied in seminary, I believe. You said yourself that the universe, it just it's staggering, and you guys made a good argument on how you can't just fill it in with belief. But on that point that you said is so staggering, don't you think that you yourself are just a speck, and that you may not ever have, or we as a race may not ever have the knowledge to examine some of these things? I mean, aren't you willing to believe that you don't have the understanding capable to ever understand it if it did exist?
Yes, I'm certainly willing to believe that I may never understand it. I may never know the answers to these things, but I'll tell you right now that if I said tomorrow, okay, I don't understand it, so it must be God, I still have no better understanding of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've gained nothing.
Yeah, and I would further add that, not to barge in on you there, but if it's a thing that we can't possibly understand, then who cares? It can't possibly be. There's all sorts of stuff that if it's beyond our level of understanding, even if it did exist, then it is irrelevant to our existence.
Well, can I draw just a quick analogy and then I'll get off?
Okay, we do want to try to take one more caller for the end, so
sure,
we'll give you one more question.
No, it's not a question, it's just sort of a comment on an analogy. If you were standing on, say, a railroad track and you knew nothing about trains, and you made the argument that you were going to stand there, this is my own analogy, and someone told you that, a train is going to come by, but you said, I have no proof that there's a train, don't you think it would behoove you to at least take in what you can't account for spiritually and believe that may be out there so that you can save, your spiritual side, rather than just say, I don't see the train, it's not coming?
Yes, but there are train tracks, right? So you can infer from some circumstantial evidence that there is possibly a train. But the point is, we have train tracks. So if you don't see a train, you can see that, these are tracks and maybe something rolls on them, and you can then go into further study from there. You can either stay on the tracks until a train comes at you, and hopefully you're smart enough to jump off, or you can go and find where the tracks lead, and maybe you'll see trains there. We don't have God tracks. Pure and simple. And we have some of these. We just
need to find them.
Well, no, you don't go out and find them. You see what the evidence shows. You don't go out with a preconceived notion of what you want the evidence to be. We have a lot of these answers to some of these basic questions about atheism on our fact page. We invite you to go see it. We've only got 3.5 minutes left, so we want to try to get one more caller in, but we appreciate hearing from you. Take care.
If you're having
did I just hang up on everybody? How did that happen?
We have no callers now. So,
guys, what happened? I hit release and I only hit button 2. So why did everyone go off? Phooey. Sorry.
Because you didn't hang up on him first?
No, I went. See, that was what he was on.
No, he was on. Peter's on line 2.
Well, I hit the solid line guy. Okay, we got some people.
We got somebody online now.
Well, we got the lines lit up again. Well, we can only take one more of these calls. We just want to remind everyone. Visit our website at atheist-community.org for some neat information about us. And our bagel shop meetings are 10:30 a.m. Sundays at Hot Jumbo Bagels on 5th Street downtown for non-believers. And who do we have back on line 1?
Peter on 1.
Peter on 1. Okay, and that's the last call we're going to be able to take today, and we apologize to other callers. We're here every Sunday at 4:30, and next time we won't screw it up because the clock will be correct. Hi there, Peter?
Yeah, hey, how's it going, guys?
Sorry about that.
Got like 2 minutes, Peter.
I know. I wish I had more time because I got a lot to talk about. Mm-hmm. But listen, I'm a Christian, and I just wanted to dialogue with you guys. You guys are saying some interesting things, and I thought I'd call in.
Okay.
One of my main questions, well, let me just say this, and I'm not trying to be rude, but a lot of the callers were not very intelligent and didn't know their history very well.
Well, and we get that.
Well, I can't hear you guys very well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. Let me go in the TV room where I can see you guys.
Well, you might feed back, so be careful.
Okay.
Well, you know what? If you would like to dialogue with us, on our website at atheist-community.org, we have several email groups that you can join, and one of them is called the Ask List, and that is set up specifically for theists to ask us questions. I mean, we have like the Atheist List, which is just for non-believers, but we have the Ask List, which is set up to be a back and forth with believers and us. So that could be a way to do it. And you could also just try calling us next week, but try to get us in the first half hour.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I mean, you guys are making some good points, but I also see, like, are you guys familiar with intelligent design theory?
Yes,
as a scientific theory, not as some, fairy tale?
Is it being proclaimed as a science?
Well, we know that...
Look, evolution is being proclaimed as a scientific theory, but it is a myth. And
well, no, there's evidence to support evolution.
Well, there's evidence to support intelligent design.
However, we shouldn't even start on this right now because
we have like
seconds
a minute
and we cannot deal with this in a soundbite.
Okay,
but I don't mean to push you off at all.
But we're at the tail end of the show, so we have quite a lot of experience with intelligent design, and why don't we get into that next week?
All right. Hey, do me a favor and read Romans 1 just on your own whenever you get a chance.
Do me a favor, read some Richard Dawkins, okay?
Hey,
good to hear from you.
Dawkins, man.
Take care.
Cool.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks to all of our callers. We're sorry about that beginning of the show weird glitch. I couldn't help it. We'll make sure the clocks are correct next week. Non-profits, Saturday afternoons, 2:30, atheistnetwork.com website. Christians, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. Thanks a lot. Welcome back, Arlo.
Thank you.
We'll see everyone next week. Bye.